Halloween night. Michael?
I think he'll come back.
Halloween.
Halloween was released in 1978 and is directed by John Carpenter. On a cold Halloween night in 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murdered his 17-year-old sister. But on October 30th, 1978, he returns to his quiet hometown of Hansfield, Illinois, where he looks for his next victims. This is the first time I'm not reviewing a new release on this channel. As I said in my Haunting in Advance review, I'm a massive horror fan, even though I haven't covered too many on this channel. So this Halloween, I wanted to change that, especially since it felt like the perfect time to go back and review some older films for a horror marathon, or I guess a horror-thon in this case. I'm sure all of you have heard about the Halloween franchise in some way. Whether you're a massive horror fan, cinephile, or someone who just spent a few minutes browsing around the mass section of Spirit of Halloween, you probably know all about Michael Myers and his reign of terror in Haddonfield. This movie started as an independent film made for $300,000, which was a ridiculously low budget even back in 1978 and would only be around $1.4 million today. It ended up grossing $45 million in the US and $70 million worldwide, making it one of the most profitable movies of all time. To say Halloween was an influential film would be a massive understatement. This film was largely responsible for the slasher subgenre, inspiring so many horror franchises to come. The crazy thing is, this movie doesn't even have a complex storyline. The premise of this film is that a crazy guy stalks people to eventually kill them, and it really doesn't go further than that. But the thing is, I believe it doesn't matter how played out a film's story is, as long as you can find an interesting way to tell those cliches or take the story in a unique direction. This is where John Carpenter steals the show. The direction of this film is something to write home about. It's one of the most effective directions in horror movie history, and that's made clear right from the absolutely chilling opening sequence where in one long take, we watch the POV of a young Michael Myers who murders his sister and comes outside completely expressionless, having no reaction to the horror he just committed. This film is one of the textbook examples of less is more. We never get an explanation on why he did this, or what caused him to go down this path. The reason why Michael Myers is referred to as the Shape is because he is the embodiment of evil, the shape that evil has decided to take. One reason why this film is so impactful is its commentary on evil. Michael Myers is so much more than just a crazy maniac. He's a fascinating character because he represents someone who let evil take over his life to the point where he's become the boogeyman. He's no longer human. This is something that got expanded upon in the later sequels, while those films tried to explain why he's evil for better or much worse. The fact that we know so little about Myers in this film is what makes him that much scarier. It also helps that his costume is pure nightmare fuel, which is saying a lot considering it's just a mechanic outfit and a William Shatner mask spray painted white, but it's used to great effect. Another way how this film represents how less is more is with the violence. There's not a lot of gore in this film, but the kills remain terrifying. This is something else the sequels didn't seem to understand. Essentially, this film isn't about the kills or bloody murder, but rather atmosphere, and how a film's atmosphere can be used to build tension, and this is what makes Carpenter's direction stand out. The earlier scenes in this movie have an autumn vibe to them and represent the warmer aspects of Halloween where you hang out with friends, carve jack-o'-lanterns, stay up late, and watch scary movies like The Thing. Which is ironic once you know what Carpenter went on to direct after this. But then, as things start to go wrong, the atmosphere shifts into something darker. Carpenter gives us hints that there's a sinister presence that's about to strike, and he uses beautiful nighttime shots and shot composition to build fear in his audience. Things in the background are blurred out sometimes, and other times there's something out of focus in the foreground that suggests horrors are about to go down. I know it's very easy to poke fun at old horror movies for being outdated and unintentionally hilarious instead of scary, but not this film. This is one of those exceptions. This film also kicked off the final girl trope in so many horror films. The main character we follow is Laurie Strode, played by Jamieleecurtis in her first credited film role. Laurie is the young naive girl who hates smoking and makes smart decisions, and because of that, she's able to outsmart the killer in the end. Her friends, however, who enjoy smoking cigarettes and are completely careless about the choices they make, they're not so lucky. This is obviously trying to act as a cautionary tale for teenagers, but this trend stuck around in horror for a long time, where the female protagonist would be the one to beat the killer at his own game and survive the film, while the other characters who make stupid decisions would make up the body count. And it surprisingly works in this film. Laurie is a very likable protagonist and someone easy to feel sympathy for. She's the kind of horror character that you're actually rooting for and wants to survive the film. And of course, I can't talk about Halloween without talking about the music. On top of directing this, John Carpenter also composed the score, despite saying he can't write a single note. Halloween has one of my favorite music themes in movie history. It's instantly recognizable and unsettling. The moment you hear that theme, you know something terrifying is about to happen. But the movie also has a lot of scenes where the score drains out, and there's nothing but silence as the film builds up to its scares, which makes the ultimate payoff to those sequences even more startling and scary. Now, there are some things I have to critique with this film because I have some issues with it. Look, I love this film to death. I wish I could give it the 10 out of 10 it rightfully deserves. But there are a few things that didn't age well, and that mostly boils down to the acting. There are some fantastic performances that I'll get to, but a lot of the supporting cast isn't that great in this. Without a doubt, donaldpleasence as Dr. Loomis is the best performance of the film. In fact, I'd argue he's the best part of every Halloween movie he's in. Pleasence is phenomenal in this film. You can feel the fear he has over Michael and the pure evil he witnessed throughout the years. My favorite scene in the entire film is just him going on about his experiences with Michael and how he saw the evil inside him, while the slow music perfectly conveys the fear instilled in him from that experience.
6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face. I spent 8 years trying to reach him because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Jamieleecurtis is also really good in this film. Apparently, she was utterly horrified by her performance in this until Carpenter told her she did a good job. Personally, I liked Curtis in the film. I think her performance holds up very well, except for a few scenes near the end that felt a little over-exaggerated. As I said, Laurie is a great protagonist for a film like this, and I think Curtis had a hand making her as likable and sympathetic as she is. The other issues I have with this film are some of the technical errors with the sound design, and I don't know if this was because I streamed the film, but some of the shots during the daytime scenes had weird resolution to them. But for all I know, one of the recent Blu-ray restorations fixed all this, so maybe I should have bought one of those and watched it that way. I am a physical media believer after all, so might as well check one of those versions out someday. Halloween is a masterpiece in horror that has and will forever be remembered as a timeless classic, thanks to John Carpenter's legendary direction that turned a simple premise into a tension-filled, nightmare-inducing, iconic staple in film history that may very well be the best slasher film of all time. This is one of those films where I feel if you love cinema and the art of filmmaking, you need to see it at some point. It's not just a great horror film to watch every Halloween season, but it's also a lesson in itself about how to build fear and how a strong direction can turn a simple premise into something that will live on forever. This is one of my favorite horror films. If you have not seen the original Halloween, you need to see it. I'm going to give Halloween a 9 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Halloween. Feel free to leave your thoughts on the film in the comments below. If this video does well, I might review the other installments in this franchise, which I would love to do, even if it means I have to sit through Halloween Resurrection.
Why the hell you dressed like me anyway? I ain't telling you to be Michael Myers. I'm playing Michael Myers. Go ahead, scoop, skedaddle.
Anyways, thanks for watching. As always, if you like this review and want to see more, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out. Remember to like the video and ring the notification bell to be notified for any upcoming reviews.
Halloween, the night he came home.